Hi there and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would talk through some of the practicalities of what you need to do if you want to apply for planning permission for your house. So first of all, when would you need to apply for planning permission? I'm not here to give out blanket advice. Every circumstance is different. You should check your local council website, and if you ever feel like you need more specialist advice, you can contact a planning consultant. You can find a list of registered planning consultants on the Royal Town Planning Institute website. I'll leave a link below. I am also always available to have a little look at something. If you shoot me a message, then I can have a look for you over through my Fiverr account. I'm always more than happy to sort of check out a site in a bit more detail, but it does need specialist advice and review on a site-by-site basis. But this is just a bit of general background advice on what anyone who is applying for planning permission in England specifically, because all four regions do have slightly different rules and legislation around what you need. So this only applies to England, I'm afraid. So first of all, when might you need planning permission? Generally speaking, external alterations to your property. And when I say alterations, I mean things like extensions, loft conversions where you're building outwards, so you're putting a dormer roof on. You might need them for roof lights as well. Might need it for building a porch that extends out to the front. You might need it to paint the front of your house. Like I say, it's all very circumstantial. So if you're ever in any doubt, contact your local council or get in touch with a planning consultant. But generally speaking, external alterations to a building will require planning permission. Changing the lawful use of a building will require planning permission. So if it is currently a house, but you want to turn it into a shop, that will require planning permission. Or if you bought an office block and you want to turn that into flats, that will require planning permission. There are things called permitted development rights. I won't go into all the details of that because they're very lengthy, numerous, and they're changing all the time. So by the time I post this, they might well be out of date. So permitted development rights, again, do your research, speak to your council, get in touch with a planning consultant, or like I say, drop me a message and I'll have a look for you. If you need planning permission, what do you do next? So first of all, you need to get drawings. So it doesn't matter if you're only doing a really small rear extension on your kitchen and your neighbours have done the same thing. If you need permission from the council, you need drawings, and you need drawings done by an architect. Technically, it doesn't actually have to be done by an architect, but they have to be to scale. They have to have a north-facing arrow. They need to be legible, and it needs to be clear what is the existing and what is the proposed, so that the council can assess what is there at the moment and what is the site going to look like. So you need good quality plans that can be scaled. So it is just best to go and appoint a local architect. Again, you can find a list of good quality ones on just a quick search, or if you do know someone who's had it done, then you can ask them who they used for their drawings. But you'll need drawings. That's definitely one area you have to employ a professional in, I would say. Yeah, potentially you could get away without it if you're just doing the smallest of projects, but for the cost it is in the grand scheme of how much your extension or whatever is going to cost, I'd always employ an architect. Next thing you're going to need the appropriate forms. So there will be a number of forms on your local council website that you're going to need to fill in to apply for this. It's a very bureaucratic process applying for planning permission. So you need the application form first of all. And for this you will need quite a lot of information about the property. You'll need information of how big the extension is, how big the site is that you're looking to convert. You'll need all of the measurements, which again goes back to the point of why you'll need an architect, because you will need proper scaled drawings. You'll need full accurate measurements of the building, the extension, whatever it is that you're doing, to be able to put into the form so that the council can accurately assess how big this plot is going to be. You will also need to fill in sections on ownership. So if you don't own the house or the building outright, doesn't necessarily mean you can't apply for planning permission. You'll just need to notify the owner. If you say own only leasehold of a freehold building, you'll need to let the rest of the leaseholders know. This is called giving notification. Obviously, it's good faith to let the person who owns the property know that you're applying for planning permission to change their property before you do it. But legally, you don't actually have to do this and get their permission. You just have to let them know, and you have to evidence this to the council. If you are in London, there is an enormous amount of other information that you will need to put into your application form. I'm not going to go into every single detail here, but it's how is it going to connect up to the sewage network? What are the number of parking spaces there are going to be, even if you're just talking about putting on a rear extension to your property. It is massive, the amount of information you need in London. Next thing you'll need is any other supporting documentation. So for this, again, check your local council. Your local council's planning page is going to be your holy Bible for this process. Check your local council website, because some will have different validation requirements than others. But these are called validation requirements because when you first submit that application to the council, it will go to a validation officer who will check that you have all the correct information and that you have submitted everything you need to. And if you have, then they will go tick, this is a valid application. And that's when it will be transferred to a planning officer to assess whether or not to grant the planning permission. So it goes through a couple of stages before it even gets to someone to look at to determine the planning permission. So you need to check your validation requirements before you submit that application. Do you need to submit a flood risk assessment? Do you need to submit a travel plan? Do you need to submit biodiversity net gain information? All of this information will be set out on your council's website. And any of these documents that you do need, you will need to employ a appropriate professional to make up these reports for you for things like ecology, transport, flooding. You can't do that yourself. You have to get the appropriate professional to write these reports for you. So it's not a cheap process. Applying for planning permission can be unbelievably expensive. Back when I worked in consultancy and I used to do budgets for my clients, the money they were spending just before they got to site, just on getting permission, just on doing the pre-application phase, getting all of the reports done, the planning application fee, which I'll come to in a minute, it can be eye-watering, the costs involved in this. So just letting you know, if you're planning a project, put quite a bit of money aside just for the planning process. Next up, you will need the appropriate fee. Every single planning application carries a fee, with a couple of small exceptions. Again, I won't go into every single detail because there are so many different rules and caveats and this, that and the other. So I won't go into everything now, but there will be a fee for your planning application. Small householder ones are normally in the couple of hundreds region, and then, big major housing development, new industrial units, they can be tens if not hundreds of thousands just in the application fee. So have a look what it is. If you're just putting in an extension on the back of your house or a roof extension or something, the current cost of that application is £206, plus there's an admin fee because all applications have to go through something called the planning portal, and they charge a fee which I think is at about £50 at the moment. So again, just work it into your budget. In the grand scheme of what the extension is going to cost you, it's not huge sums of money, but you just need to make sure that you've got it. And back on that point about drawings that we talked about earlier, you will need a few drawings to get through validation. So you will need a site location plan, and this will clearly indicate where the site is located. So if you live in a mid-terrace house, you will need to show a good few of the houses around you, plus your house outlined in red, so your land ownership, which shows where the project is taking place, with that scale bar and that north arrow on it. That is a correct site location plan. 1 to 1250 is normally about right for a site location plan. You'll also need those before and after plans called existing and proposed plans. So you will need them as actual plans, floor plans. You will also need them as elevations, so you can see whether or not there are any changes to the side walls of the property. If you're doing a roof extension, you'll need the roof plans as well. So you will need quite a few plans to get through. It can also help to include photographs because it can be easier for the case officer, particularly if they're not able to get out to site, to be able to see photographs of the site as it currently is at the moment. And finally, in the place where you live, you might have to fill in what is called a SIL form, that is a community infrastructure levy. Even if your development isn't eligible for it, you'll have to fill in the form just to say it is not eligible for it. Again, I sound like a broken record. Check your local council website. Not every single council has SIL implemented, but a lot of them do nowadays. So if there is SIL in place in your local council region, you will have to fill in that form and submit it with your application documents. And then, as I mentioned previously, all applications have to go through the planning portal. I think maybe technically you can still email them to your local council, but I think most of the time they ask you to submit it all through the planning portal. It's a very neat process. All the documents all get uploaded in one place. You make your payment through the planning portal and it all just gets directly transferred straight away to the council. They get a planning portal reference number, you get the reference number, and it's easy to track it from there. So I know you have to pay the admin fee for the planning portal, but it's easy just to go through. And there's actually some really useful guides on the planning portal website, particularly for householder extensions and sort of the commonplace applications that you might be making. So I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. So if you are thinking about making an application, you can go and have a look there. So my biggest takeaways, if you learned nothing else from this video, is look at your council website. Number one, look on your council website. Check everything there. Check your local validation requirements. Check whether or not there is SIL. Check whether or not you can send an application directly to them. And secondly, where you need to appoint an appropriate professional, do that. Don't cheapen out on that part of the job. Get an architect if you need it. Get a transport consultant if you need it. Don't think you can do this yourself. These people are professionals for a reason, I'm afraid. And yes, okay, it's going to cost you a little bit more money, but would you not rather that than getting your planning permission refused because you didn't have the appropriate information? Not because it's a bad application, but just because the council couldn't assess it properly because you didn't get the correct information available to them. So always hire a professional to do the drawings or the reports that you need them to do. And thirdly, sort of tied onto that first point, go and have a look at the planning portal website. It's got so much good free information on there about general applications and how to make an application and what you might need to include. So I hope this has been helpful. Like I say, I'm always happy to have a look at an individual project basis if you contact me through my Fiverr account, which I'm going to leave the link for down here. General planning advice, you can reach me in the usual places, Instagram, TikTok, leave me a message in the comments down below and I'm happy to look. But like I say, individual site specific things, I will need to go into more detail for that. So that's why you can reach me through Fiverr. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something here and I will see you next time.